Hi, this is Matt Welsh with Spiritual Media Blog, and today I am here with James Redfield, author of The Celestine Prophecy. James, thanks so much for being here with us today.
Nice to be with you, Matt.
Um, so a lot of people know about your book, The Celestine Prophecy, but why don't you tell us what have you been up to lately? What are you up to now?
Well, like everybody else, we're kind of grounded where I am, and that's pretty much the whole country, right? Maybe even the whole world at this point. So it's something living with these kinds of restrictions, and it's interesting because it's a test really to see how we can best keep ourselves inspired, keep the energy up. From my point of view, it's all about that. It's all about inspiration, energy, and finding a real meaningful something that you want to create in your life. And even in a situation like this, it's something that, from my point of view, we just have to keep building and go back to the ways, and we'll talk about the ways to build energy, build to find a way to let go of these anxiety feelings and the hurts and the anger and all the other things that come up at a time like this. So we can talk about that. But yeah, I do. I'm touring, of course, with the re-release of the Celestine Prophecy, which is very interesting for me to be out on the road talking about the Celestine Prophecy. And we've got about three generations now that have been passing this book around and finding it very, very meaningful to them, because it describes really a way to see life as having a deeper spiritual meaning and being able to prove that to ourselves. And we do that, of course, through this perception experience we can have of meaningful coincidences. And if these meaningful coincidences, if this synchronicity is real, then it means that, and I believe it is without a doubt, and tens of millions of people out there are also on board with this, that we can prove to ourselves that there is a spiritual dimension to life. And of course, we don't know all the details of that. All we can do is really, but people have their beliefs and there's all the religious information out there, but it boils down really to finding the real experience of spirituality as a consciousness. And so as we travel around speaking to people about the Celestine Prophecy, I really like to talk about that this is a new time in the world. And when I started talking that way, it was before this virus was happened to us, and but it doesn't change anything. It's a new time in the world because there are more people who are conscious spiritually than ever before. There are more people meditating in the world, across three generations now. And it's interesting because I think that it's really a time when we have three generations asking the larger questions. And this just makes these questions more poignant to have this sudden shock to our routines. But we have baby boomers who are retiring, asking, well, what I really want to do with my life, I'm free enough, so that, what can I do with my time? To kind of volunteer, can I create a charity? Can I get involved with trying to make the world better in some way? Asking the larger questions. And then you have millennials reaching that really interesting astrological point, which is moving from in mass, this big, huge generation is aging together, and the bulk of millennials are moving past 38 into 39 and glimpsing 40 coming right after them, right? And that makes you, everybody who's gone through 38 to 40 has every generation asks the same question. Okay, I've done the relationship thing, I've done the job thing, I've done the kid thing even a lot. Yeah, but what do I really want to do with my life, right? It's right there with 40 coming at you that you make decisions about how to find more meaning and something more fulfilling. People change jobs at this age rapidly, trying to get into something that they really enjoy more. So millennials are asking the deeper questions. And then you have the older children of millennials. And remember that millennials and their children are the majority population on the planet now already.
Yeah.
Which means, they're going to be the influencers very soon of the future of the human race. And the kids that, the Z generation, they call them. And I hope these college kids, it really runs from about 16 or 17 through the end of college. That's that group, and they're huge too. And all together, they're looking for in college, but they also, a lot of them are looking at college. How do I educate myself? How do I find what I want to do in work? And to make all these questions more poignant is this sudden danger in the world that we never contemplated, or most of us didn't. We knew theoretically that something like this could happen, but it just makes it more, maybe even urgent, to find something fulfilling in this world. A lot of people this will influence them a lot. They'll want to make a career out of stopping the next one from getting this far,
Yeah.
So when I say it's a new time in the world, it's a new time of consciousness, because all these generations, again, are meditating, asking the large questions. And when you ask the large questions, you start to find answers. And so, everybody's passing the Celestine prophecy around again, which is the reason we did a new edition. So I'm on the road to the new edition, doing these workshops about what are these key experiences that we can discover for ourselves that prove that we're in, that life is about a spiritual journey of consciousness. So I couldn't be having any more fun. I just hate all of it's had to be postponed. I'm doing it all electronically now, but that's okay. It's all part of whatever we're going to learn from this.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, this whole virus and pandemic is causing a lot of people to reevaluate, reprioritize, wake up. And I think your teachings are even more relevant now than ever with this going on. But it's also, it's a hard time for a lot of people right now, whether, they're afraid, they've lost their job, they're concerned about their physical health. I mean, what would you say to people like that who are scared and anxious?
That you're not alone in the world. There's a spiritual force you can tap into. And again, we don't know the religions. You could pick the religion if you want the full story or a story. But if you want to just tap into the proof, the experiences that can convince one that they're on a journey that's spiritual, these experiences have never been more defined, never have been more discussed. All the insights in my 4 novels are are experiences that each of us can prove to ourselves are real.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you can doubt so much you just won't feel the evidence, but it's these insights are about how the world really is, and how it works really. I tell people all the time, I think the human race has discovered the long sought for operation manual for planet Earth, right? Uh, because you just gotta, you kind of find yourself in this journey, and you count on people older than you to define things, but then they don't know it all, and everybody knows, we don't know it all, but we know enough now. There's something called the human potential movement in science, and it's not a strict science, but it's a kind of search for meaning, for the real way the world works. What is this spirituality that we can tap into? What is this longing to do something with it our soul wants to do in the world, and that we're never quite satisfied until we get into that. We find what it is, and it's always a way to help the world evolve positively. It's always about that in the end. Everybody can say, well, I want to make a business and have $1 million. Well, you're not going to get $1 million unless you have something that people want. And further than that, it's that you're not going to get to $1 million unless you have something that people need, and that seems to help the world in its evolution forward, right? So helping, it's all about helping. So as we'll see if we go through these insights together today, it's a understanding of actually how the world really works. We know the physics of, they've got the physics down. It's actually confirming, the further reaches of modern physics is confirming that we live in a kind of consciousness that's seeking, and that the world responds to our creation, our creative power, right? So we know, but we have, all the materialistic science has been done. Science is now turning itself to, well, what else? What else can we find out about the spiritual nature of this world? And so that was the human potential movement. Started 100 years ago with Carl Jung, when he separated from the materialism of Sigmund Freud, right? And from then on, it's like, how do we talk logically about spirituality, and what are the common experiences, and do they feel the same way to everybody? Yeah. So we know the key experiences of spirituality now, and then all it takes is for people to just desire to open up and search for and have an intention for these experiences. And what comes with that is the kind of fulfillment that our souls want. So it's pretty interesting to talk about, and more people are thinking about it than ever before. And probably this pandemic has jolted us out of this kind of lazy materialism.
Absolutely. And I really like how you talk about being able to prove these spiritual principles through your own personal experiences. And one of the insights that you talk about that I do think is a bridge between the science and the spiritual is synchronicity, and this idea of meaningful coincidences in your life. Could you talk a little bit about that, but also, how can people create more synchronicity and meaningful coincidences in their life?
Well, that's the big question, right?
Yeah.
Because synchronicity happens to almost everybody. If people look back and say, well, how did I meet my partner, my romantic partner? And you look back and you say, wow, if I hadn't have gone back to get something outside, to get something in my car, I would have met her coming out the door. or him, and so it's people in retrospect can see these meaningful coincidences that have shaped their lives. And that's what it is. It's a meaningful coincidence. And Carl Jung was the first one to coin the term. He saw it all the time in his psychoanalysis with people, in terms of what popped up to help them see a course they needed to take in their own lives. But it's much larger than that. It is it's a force in the universe. And you can say, well, that's God helping us, or, but how does it work exactly? What do you have to do to get, it's a lot of questions that we don't know, but we have proved a lot of things. First is that synchronicity is real. And if synchronicity is real, and what really happens in life is that synchronicity opens doors for your dreams to come true. Okay? It seems to be a design of the universe. Now you can say, well, I can never do anything, and you can be negative about your life, and that's exactly what will happen. Or you can say, I can send out a prayer, I can make intentions for my life, and I really want to change jobs. How am I going to do that? And what happens is if we ask that question, things will happen that can be thought of as basic help.
Yeah.
You want to go. Okay. But you have to be alert to those. You can just sleepwalk right by them. So the first thing is to be alert. Alert. You have to be bold. People orbit each other. If you start to see you start to pay attention to the people that come in the door with you into the restaurant, that sit beside you in the restaurant or on the airplane, and because none of that is by accident, right?
Yeah.
And once you start to see, it might be by accident or it might not be meaningful, but it happened, and it could be a meaningful coincidence, but you have to explore it. Now, I've got 12 insights through the 4 books, and these 12 insights are each a new understanding of the world, how the world works, to make synchronicity go faster. Okay, you got to get in tune with how the world really works. For instance, the second insight. The first insight is the discovery that synchronicity is real.
Yeah.
And if you stay alert to what might be a synchronicity, you can prove that yourself without question.
Yeah.
Now, a scientist would say, well, that's just a random thing, and you're making something out of it. Well, no. We're getting helped by it. They like to say that because they're skeptics, but in order to find the real evidence for spirituality, you have to set your skepticism aside a little bit and see if you don't see this synchronicity working in your life, waiting for you to step into the flow of it, right? And so that's the great revelation of our time, is that synchronicity is real, and that we now know how to step into that flow. And it begins with all the insights in sequence, because every time you get it about how a different thing about life that you discovered, it puts you in a place where synchronicity comes faster. Okay, so it's almost like opening up to the reality, the real way the world works, and then you discover that synchronicity is the kind of operating. Well, it's the kind of basic experience that goes faster. They get bigger. They will take you to the maximum of your soul's potential or what your soul wants to do. But you got to tune in. You got to tune into it, and that's what you really get out of it is the most fun you've ever had in life.
Yeah.
And it's not scary. There's nothing weird about it. It's very practical the way it works. We just have only now discovered that that's how the world works. We're not just in a basic material world that this happens by pure chance, and all you have to do is just figure out what you're trying to create and go try to create it with your ego. Well, that's the hard way. You create it by allowing yourself to be guided intuitively. So, what do you want to do? We talk about any of these insights or all of them? You know.
Well, I mean, speaking of synchronicity, the next question on my list was to ask you about the relationship between intuition and synchronicity. So, I mean, that's a perfect lead-in.
Okay. Then, synchronicity is observing the world, how the world helps and guides you if you pay attention, right? Intuition is something that you receive in your mind. It's a hunch, it's a gut feeling, it's an image of you doing something in the world, and you go, wow, I could never do that. Before I wrote the Celestine Prophecy, I had a vision of the whole thing. And it's just like an ordinary daydream, right? And all of a sudden in the daydream I said, I could do this, 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 and this, and what if that happened? And all of a sudden I just got on a little roll about the future, what was possible. And that happens to people all the time. The thing is, they do what I did, which is, that was a crazy pipe dream, Yeah, what's that all about? And because it's about writing a book that would be successful, but I didn't know what subject matter would be. And I wanted to write, but I didn't know the subject matter. And I got into into esoteric psychology and all that, in school. And finally, I realized, and I was a therapist for a long time, and finally, I realized, there's a message in this. The way I do, the way I help people, there's a message in that. My experiences I can write about, and then that became the Celestine Prophecy. So these daydreams and hunches are very practical, really, but you have to recognize them because intuition is always a kind of daydream. It kind of comes in your mind. Okay, it's not when you're making the list. That's a part of our minds. It's the right place for the ego. Where, okay, I got to get this done today. But again, that's the slow way. If you start to pay attention to the other thoughts that come, you'll have these thoughts that just kind of arrive in your head. And you'll go, well, I don't have time to do that. I'm busy on my list, right? So it's always about call an old friend, go to the library, research something on the internet, talk to the stranger that I'm standing beside, waiting on a bus. It's you get these hunches to do something, and that's your guiding intuition. And that's been studied up and down and all around. We know exactly that it's a higher intelligence. It's an intuitive intelligence that human beings have, and but you have to not ignore them because modern science would say, that's irrational. Whatever it is coming to you is irrational. You've got to be rational before you set goals and rational steps to the goals. That's good. That's a basic good idea. We have to be logical in the world. But we get help.
Right.
And the key thing about intuition, though, is that you have to follow it as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a little story I always tell. So, we live on a wildlife preserve, right? And we have bears and big bobcats and all kinds of coyotes, some of them really big. So we have to, we'll have a little fence around our house and yard area, but the coyotes would just come on in and eat your cat. They don't know any boundaries. So we have bigger dogs that patrol, and they keep the animals and they alert us. Well, I had one of our dogs who was getting old, and she needed to retire from all that, right? She wanted to sleep more, not be out there barking at coyotes. And I woke up thinking about it. Oh, got to find, and we used to go to rescue organizations to find our dogs, right? But the day that I woke up thinking about it, I thought, okay, this is a Tuesday, okay? So I said, we'll have to set up something on a Saturday to go to these places because that's when they have all their dogs out, right? And so I got ready. I was late for an appointment, jumped in the car, went out to the main highway, and was cruising toward my appointment again late. And I thought about, just kind of driving, and I thought about it again. And when I thought about it, I realized I was right next door to a pet shop that on weekends had rescues. So I figured, I thought, and still it's late for you. See, and so I thought, okay, all right, look, I'll come back there. The intuition is I should come back there on Saturday, right? So try to go again, and then the other thing, I've trained myself to do a double check on intuitions, in which I ask, okay, but wait a minute, why did I think about that now? Now, right beside this pet shop.
Yeah.
And of course, once I really thought about it, I said, because it's absolutely imperative that you really act on these things as soon as you get it. So I said, okay, later or not, I'm going in there. So I swerved around there, parked, went in the door, looked to my right, and there was Ginger, our new dog.
Oh my gosh.
And we'd been looking for a lab that could swim with the kids, and there she was.
Wow.
So, that's how life is supposed to go. That's the design. But we don't listen to these thoughts, right? These hunches. Just think about it. I mean, it's people already know they have hunches. We act on hunches. It's just we're doing it now more consciously. Think about it. I've asked this question I'm about to ask in 4 continents, 10 different languages, and I asked the people this question. I said, when you think of an old friend just out of the blue, and you say to yourself, and you take the chance to call them right then, what did they say to you?
I was just thinking of you.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
People answer that question the same way all over the world.
Yeah.
And that's just proof that we already do it a little bit. It's just that we don't. We're focusing more on this as a real phenomenon. It's just not a thing we joke about. Women's intuition. Well, men have it too.
Yeah.
So we're growing up, understanding all these ways the world works that our materialistic science just hasn't gotten around to, or only a few, and it just unfortunately we're stuck in a kind of material. Many of us still are stuck in this kind of materialistic attitude about how life works, and whole generations, just live for fun.
It's true.
How can I maximize my fun? And that's great. That's nice. But you don't want to leave out the spiritual trek that you're on, because later you get into life, the more you'll regret it.
It's true.
And at this moment, there's this grand revelation about intuition, because it's there to work like this. And you get a hit, an intellectual, a feeling. It could be, like I say, it could be an emotional thing, kind of, but it's an urge to do something. Also, or it could be a just thought, a real thought. Like, it feels like you're talking to yourself, but it just kind of happens in your mind. So, or of course, it's a picture, a vision of you should be doing something. So, like I always get visions. The vision I got was me going in this place and looking for the dog.
Yeah.
And so, why did I think that now? It's a major thing about intuition, but it works this way. If you follow it as soon as possible, it's always to do something. You do it, then it puts you in a position to have a synchronicity.
Yeah.
It takes you to the place where the next synchronicity is supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So that's the flow you want. You want to follow your intuitions, act on them, and then get there and search for the synchronicity. You may have to talk to total strangers. Everybody has to get used to that.
Yeah.
How do you strike up a conversation with a total stranger? Now, I'm in the South, so it's easy. Right? Other places, it's not easy. They treat you like you're a predator or something when you strike conversation. So, that's the way it works. And the more you follow your intuition, the more synchronicity you have. The more synchronicity you have, the more you're helped in life, in your dreams, come true at a faster rate.
Yeah, that makes sense, and that's a great explanation of the intuition and the relationship of synchronicity. I'm also wondering, how can we distinguish our intuition versus our own ego's desires? I mean, what's the difference between like me saying I want to be a millionaire, and that's like an ego, versus an intuition is I have a grand vision of touching millions of people's lives. I mean, what's the difference between ego versus intuition, and how can we tell the difference?
Well, ego is usually something that makes you feel better about yourself. But what we're all looking for is inspiration energy.
Yeah.
When you start thinking about what to do, and you get this little daydream about, I could do this and that, like you and your radio show here.
Yeah.
How'd that happen? You kind of visualized it first, right?
Yeah.
And it hits with a feeling of inspiration. And the scientists will argue, well, what's inspiration? That's just some kind of mental phenomenon. That's nothing that can be talked about. Why not? Everybody has moments of inspiration. That's a real lift in your energy. And it can be described, and if you put 100 people together, everybody, you talk about inspiration. I do it all the time. And they go, of course I've had inspiration. Okay, how long does it last? Well, until my wife yells at me or comes up, So it's always the touch. The thing is getting back. It's all about life energy.
Yeah.
I always like to get around to this because, and again, what I'm about to say has been proved scientifically 100 times, 1,000 times. Who do you think has the strongest immune system? People who are inspired.
Yeah.
They really are motivated to do. And, immune system off the scale. And the people who are depressed have the lowest. Now, we all get depressed and we all get angry and scared, but it's inspiration energy. And what you do is you find some way to help. And I'll go ahead and talk about this. The third revelation about how the world really works is about karmic reality. In other words, do you really get to live any way you want, treat people any way you want, and have a happy life? Well, the social media giants seem to do that, right? And the Wall Street tycoons, but do they really have a happy life?
Yeah.
They have money. But I can tell you, I've done study of this, they don't have a happy life.
Yeah.
Because they're not in alignment with the karmic design of this world.
Yeah.
When people fight me, they don't want there to be karma. They want to be, they want it to be that the things they do are secrets and nobody really knows. They think it doesn't matter, because that's what the philosophers say. Oh, this is an absurd world. Nothing matters. Just do what you want to do and try to get through life. And that's a prescription for depression, I can tell you. That's awful, right? But we can prove to ourselves that there is a karmic reality in this world. And again, if you talk to people at the grassroots level everywhere, you ask them about karma, and whether karma is there really karma? You know what they say? Absolutely. What goes around comes around.
Yeah, it's in pretty much.
They've seen it with people. You do bad, what happens? People get their,
Yeah.
They'll start having problems because they're doing that. So here's how it works, and I think anybody can prove it to themselves. And again, this is, there's dozens of books about this. This is a consensus with among people who talk about this and think about it. But how it works is it revolves karma in this dimension revolves around giving. Okay, helping. The Bible's full of that, right? But if you're a helper, and let's make it about synchronicity, okay? Because we don't just get synchronicities from people. People get synchronicities from us.
Yeah.
And once you think about that, you go, okay, well, what's my responsibility to be thinking not about my own synchronicity so much, but about what's going on in my life that I'm getting the intuition to tell this person about because it might help them.
Wow. Yeah.
And so if you really start to practice that, something amazing happens in your life. But here's the way it works. If you're a giver, okay, you think about helping other people, and you do, you draw in your life more givers. It's exactly the same thing for you. And if you're a taker, now when I say take, if you manipulate any person for any reason to make yourself look good, to sell them something they don't need, or to take something from them like energy, then what happens is that you're a taker. And you begin to see happening in your life other takers very similar to you coming in your life, misleading you, taking your money, and it's not for punishment. It's to show you how that feels, what it really feels. And among therapists, it's been proven a million times. And when you hear about people's lives, and the hard thing is that we're unconscious of taking from people. But Celtic Prophecy, shows about controlled dramas and trying to win energy from people, build our egos up, and all that. That's taking. you lower this other person so you could feel more energized. Mm-hmm. So you see what I'm getting to. It's all about, if you're a taker, your life, your synchronicity slows very far down, because you've got to learn this lesson to get past the taking to be able to give. But if you're a giver, which, listen, 90% of the people in the world want the best for everybody. They want the best for everybody's children. It's only, this kind of dark side of corruption out there that is operating this way for the most part. But sometimes we do control people thinking we're helping them when we're really draining them.
Yeah.
That's the kind of taking that we have to get past. And again, there's parts of the Celestine Prophecy that talk about how to do that. But it's always giving is the solution. If you're depressed, he'll find somebody else depressed to talk to. Help, give them some energy. And it's the cure. Okay? And there's sometimes it's brain chemistry, but 99% of the time it's just you're bummed out about your life.
Yeah.
And giving is a solution. So those are just some ways to understand how the world works, so that our lives can suddenly be karmic. Now, see, because we've been such controllers of each other and takers of energy, we're just emerging. New generations are emerging with this understanding that energy balance is important. Don't take, and as so really, the human race is just now understanding karmic reality enough to try it, to try to get in alignment with it. And I can tell you, it makes changes in your life that you can prove to yourself, because you start to see more synchronicity, more people coming out of nowhere to give you a solution to a problem. And that's how the world is designed to be, where we're all helping each other through this synchronicity and helping. But the human race is just beginning to prove it to themselves.
Yeah, no, I think that is a really good point about the importance of giving to other people, and also sometimes being mindful that there are others out there who are takers. How can we stay grounded or stay in that intuitive flow if we're around other people who are trying to take from us? Or they don't even have to be takers. It's just, we might have a family member or a friend who just is really stressed out and anxious and goes off on us. I mean, how do we stay grounded when we're around other people who might be consciously or unconsciously trying to take from us?
You find another way to sustain your energy. In other words, you're explaining that people are in power struggles all over the world. That's really what's wrong with the world at every level. Families, nations. That's what's wrong with the world. Ego trips and power struggles, right? So we have to get out of those power struggles. And in the Celestine Prophecy, and this is another insight. This is the fourth insight, where you tap into a source of energy that allows you never to be drained again, never to have to defend yourself again. It's a kind of okayness, no matter whether you're down to your last penny. There's never any reason to feel this way. You just can ask for it and get it. In the Bible, it's called a peace that surpasses all understanding.
Yeah.
But you can't get there if you don't think it's possible, right? Still dealing with everything at the ego level. When I say it's a new world of consciousness, that raising consciousness, because so many people are meditating, I'm not I'm not kidding about this. This is a direct link from meditation to expanded consciousness. And what you get is, you're going to this, you can prove to yourself that there's a divine source. If it tells you to go right, if you get some sense that you should go beat somebody up, you're not connected to the source enough. This, because it's a love source, and everybody, God is love has always been something that all the poets have said, and the songwriters and the philosophers. So we don't know the nature of it, but we can feel the love, and that's a heart opening. So I like to teach a meditation that focuses on, having this basic, the strongest emotion that we can have is love. And people argue with me about that. Oh, that's too mushy, or that's not strong enough for this world. You can't be talking about love all the time. And I just laugh at them, because that's the strongest emotion, the most centering, the most giving, because that's the energy you want. You want this love-born energy that you summon up because it becomes a habit. And you have to do meditation. But what happens is, through meditation, you practice being in that space, or being that person that you're not, when all that's going on is ego chatter, and how do I make myself feel good, and how do I make more money, and oh my God. That's ego chatter. You have to let that go and intend, prayerful intention, that to connect with this it's not really a download, because it's in us already, but that's what it kind of feels like. That you get this emotion of love that you can connect with. It's not emotion. Love. All our experience with love is always an object. We love our parents, we love the first little puppy, our first teenage crush. We've loved. Everybody has loved. But we think we need an object, or God. People love God, and that works because it's so broad. But you want to be in a state of love. And what it feels like once you practice this meditation, where that's your goal, that's your intention, that's the energy that comes into you, and it brings with it a peace that sustains you no matter what is happening. All right. Now, for people who are skeptical about that, I understand. But why let something not be tried? Because if you try this, it always works.
Yeah.
The time it doesn't work is if you don't do it. If you're, it's very hard to be with yourself. A lot of anxiety there. I have to be quiet with myself. I can't pursue my coping devices. And you chatter in your mind. You don't have time to be meditating. What do you do? You've got this list to do. So it's really fun to understand that that's what everybody goes to, that ever reaches this kind of centeredness and this, every religion has a description of that it's possible to get this peace that surpasses all understanding, that is there no matter what is going on in and out of the world. But you have to practice it, because what you practice is the non-thought, the person that can just be there with no thoughts, and guess what? With no emotions that are trying to come up to get you. This anxiety, or maybe angry. This has happened right when you started business, and now here's this pandemic, and oh my God, you're angry. All of those are chatter that you have to let go of. Let go of anxiety, anger. Okay, I get back to anxiety after 20 minutes of meditating, right? Just wait. don't worry, I'll go back to being angry. But the fact is, the more love you have, the connection, the state, which is our birthright, our natural human development reaches that state. So, it's time to, just because nobody's talking about it out there, or tied to a religion, doesn't mean it's not real. It's something that we can prove to ourselves, and that's the big one. That's a biggie. Because if you're going to be compassionate when someone is cussing you up and down, you got to be from that place. And what happens is you never have to defend yourself because you feel okay whether they're taking your energy or not. In fact, if they want to take your energy, you just give them, okay, here,
right.
Give it all. So when people try to take your energy, you have to learn not to, you just give them more.
Yeah.
And when you do that and just don't argue, just kind of be in your happy place, if you want to call it that, and it sustains you. And you don't want to hang around if they're intimidators, these kind of dangerous people. Some people just collect one dangerous person after another, and you really should walk away.
Yeah.
Don't try to linger to try to save a dangerous person. It's not going to happen. Just give them energy as you're walking backwards.
That makes sense.
So stay safe with this, but really, we all can find this place where we can not ever defend ourselves again. Somebody's shaming us about this or that, or angry because we didn't do this or that. You don't have to explain yourselves. Yeah.
It's very true.
You just say, well, thanks for the kind words, or okay, I'll think about that. Just disarming kinds of things. Don't defend yourself. And then you can stay afloat. And that's a practice. You have to do that over time.
Yeah. No, I think that makes total sense. And I really like how you are boiling these insights into very practical, useful ways. I'm wondering, we have a few minutes left. I'm wondering if you could spend a couple minutes just talking about how you applied some of these principles to your life. In particular, I know you used to be a therapist for 15 years, and then you, at the age of 43, I believe, is when you published the Celestine Prophecy. I mean, what was it like at that time in your life to try to apply some of these principles before you had published the Celestine Prophecy?
Well, to write about this, I discovered these principles I moved from psychotherapy to spiritual counseling.
Yeah.
Right? Because that was the laboratory I really wanted to work in. And so all these principles really were known in the therapeutic community first, because we were seeking to help people become happier, right?
Yeah.
The first thing you know about therapy is that you can talk about what goes wrong in somebody's life forever, and nothing will change, right? But there has to be a spiritual breakthrough component, and so we were all talking about this. Okay, what kind of transpersonal moment can they have? But what happens is that once you break through to this peace that surpasses understanding, a sense of centered self where you become the star of your own movie unfolding, all these are psychological states that have been talked about for 100 years in therapy. So, but how do we all just figure out a way to get to that place without having to go through that process? And it really became, the reason I wrote Celestine Prophecy is because I was describing insights that can bring that sort of life transformation just because we understand that it's possible. And we go searching for it, and we use intention to go searching for it. So, I've gone through stages. I've done these books, and right now I'm into doing workshops, events, but also we're creating a community for this sort of searching and this sort of attainment. And it'll be opening soon on CelestineVision.com. And it'll be a community of where we talk about the real, down-to-earth aspects of this with each other. And we also offer mentorship. So it'll be a community that will have mentoring available in groups and individually. It'll have life coaching available. But yeah, I actually do some actual business consulting around using these principles to get projects done. So, I'm interested in that, because that's the real place where we break through. We put this into practice. CelestineVision.com, or you can Google my name and you'll get it out.
That's awesome. That sounds great. And also too, reminding people we mentioned this at the beginning, but the Celestine Prophecy Inspiration Tour, if people want to find out more about that, where's a good starting point?
It's what this. If you'll just Google James Redfield or the Celestine Prophecy Tour or any of that, it'll come up how to find it. Find the information, and be easy to find our schedule. Again, a lot of it's been postponed.
Yeah.
But we'll get back at it when it's time.
Yeah. Well, we've got maybe a minute left. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you were hoping to talk about? Yeah,
we didn't get through all the insights, but again, Celestine Prophecy, the new editions especially, has it afterward on staying awake. So when people read the Celestine Prophecy now, especially younger people, they finish it and they go, "Whoa, how do I live all this?" Well, how you live it is to stay awake. So I've done an afterward on the book that teaches you much of what I've said here, and it's a reminder of how to stay awake. But in terms of just important aspects of how to live the synchronistic flow that turns into a clarity about our mission and then allows a mission to come true, to get in that flow, again, remember it's about giving. And the thing most important is to give energy, especially after we get centered in our own sort of wholeness. We have energy that comes, it's love, but it's energy that keeps us inspired. And the way to keep that flow going is to, when we talk to anybody, we remember to give energy. And what happens is that starts to flow. So the way we can stay up and inspired and have a great immune system is to feel this and then let it spill out. That's just kind of an image one can have, but it spill out on another person. And what you do when you're talking to anybody at any level, anytime, you look for higher consciousness, an inspired kind of look that we all have when we're got it going. And we look for that in the face of the other person. They might be angry, they might be sad, but if you just try to look at that face and the eyes and just kind of image, try to find that inspired look and keep talking, what happens is you can lift people into that connection, for the first time. I mean, they need to do their own work. They're not going to be able to sustain it. What happens, the best thing that happens is it keeps us full of energy as we spill out over people. And people will say, well, what's that person got?
Yeah.
Anything that's not everybody's birthright, which is high motivation and alertness to synchronicity and acting on our intuitions. That's the flow that's our birthright. So it's contagious. People who don't have it, don't have that flow, they look and say, well, what's that person got? How can I get it? And then we can share what humans always do. This has been my experience. What's been your life experience? This has been my life experience. But now we add breaking through to this, sort of high creative flow of life that takes us to something that we really want to do.
That's great. Very, very well said. I mean, I've always been interested in these topics, but I really like the way you break it down into such practical, analytical, and inspiring format. So thank you so much for your time and your wisdom. We really, really appreciate having you here.
Well, quite welcome. I've enjoyed it. Yeah, you have great energy, so keep passing the word out there. That's that interview. I know you do that.
Well, thanks.
It's been an hour with you. Thank you.
It's been wonderful. Thank you.